Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Baker, and this is Momma Stories. I created Momma Stories after seeing how impactful sharing stories can be in overcoming the challenges of motherhood. I am where I am today because of the stories of so many amazing, strong mamas, and I want to share that with every mom I can. So follow along to laugh, cry, and be empowered. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. Have you heard about how we are changing the story for moms? Momma Fund is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to providing products, services, and education to moms in need. So check us out at mommafund.org. All right, welcome to the show today. Our first grandma on the show, Marianne.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a fun idea.
Yeah, I'm excited. Marianne's actually going to be with us for 2 episodes because on top of being a super grandma, she's also a sleep consultant, which I know sleep, that's a big topic for all of us mamas.
Totally and unequivocally.
Yes. All right, so let's jump right into grandmahood though. Okay, so you have 4 kids.
I have 4 kids, 35 down to 27.
Okay.
I have 3 grandkids, 5, 3, and 5.5 months.
Okay. Oh, brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, and who is it? Is it all one?
My oldest,
your oldest,
had her birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Is the mom of the 3. Yep.
Okay.
And my youngest is married and no kids. And then my 2 middle kids are still figuring life out.
Yeah. They've got a lot of time.
Yeah. Yes,
they've got plenty of time. Okay. So, you're oldest, so you're first. So you went through all the things motherhood. Now you're in this transition where your daughter is now pregnant.
Yep.
What was that like?
You know, because I'm also a doula and a sleep consultant, I also know there's that fine line between the mother relationship and the stay back and be asked the questions versus give free advice.
Okay.
And I learned that from my clients. You know, we dread my mother coming. We dread my mother-in-law coming, unfortunately. We don't want to be impeded upon. We want to ask for the help. And so those are really good words of wisdom for me as becoming a grandmother. Mm-hmm. So I really don't give a ton of advice unless I'm asked because, especially with daughters, they don't necessarily always want to hear it from their mother.
Yeah.
But being a grandmother, oh my gosh, it is such the best gift. You don't have to get up at night with them. You teach them things. You get to read to them. You get to play with them and not be the bad guy.
Yeah. So because you hear this all the time, that mother, like tension, I guess.
Dynamics. Dynamic. For sure.
Do you have a theory as to why that's there?
I think it's an independence thing and it's a parenting thing. You know, my mom probably shared with me what to do all growing up and I'm an adult now. I can figure it out myself.
You can do it.
I think that's what it is.
Okay.
In fact, my daughter has said as such when we've talked about different subjects that she didn't want to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you just have to respect that.
Yeah. That's hard though, I feel like, because I've seen people struggle with that dynamic before of like, I want to be really involved as a mom, but I also don't want to overstep as a grandma or as a grandma, whatever that is. And it's just interesting to me because I don't know if I went through that exactly, but I definitely went through the like, you know, I don't want anybody in the room. Like my mom really wanted to be in the room with me and I didn't. I just wanted it to be me and Dustin. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know if I could be like, oh, well, because I didn't want her advice. I don't know if that's what it was or if I just...
Sometimes it's just feeling like, can I really be myself with my mom in the room? I think the other piece of advice would be, as a grandmother, ask how I can help. Ask what I can do. And let them tell you how they can help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I have clients, whether I'm their birth doula or postpartum, and they're having, you know, trepidation about the mom just showing up the day the baby's born and coming home, I said the time to write the family letter and email it to everybody is to say, we are so excited for you to meet our baby. We'd like 2 weeks of on our own, learn our baby, and then ask you to come and after the fact, but respect our 2 weeks that we were asking to be a family in and of ourselves.
Gosh, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
I actually said I was going to do that. Yeah. And then I think I allowed some fears and some other people's opinions to come into that space. But gosh, I wish I would have done that. I definitely recommend that for any mom.
I think the new family always needs help, but maybe it's not necessarily the family. It could be the doula. It could be a best friend.
Yeah.
It could even just be, can you come over, neighbor, and hold the baby so we can take a nap?
Yeah.
Things like that are huge at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Food and dinner, huge.
Oh, yeah.
If grandma's
just
come,
meal trains.
cook, and laundry.
Yeah. There you go. That's good advice.
Ways of keeping the house running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So your daughter gets pregnant and you're obviously over the moon. You're excited to be a grandma.
Yep.
Were there any times during the pregnancy where you were just kind of having, I just imagine it, I guess, as this like really surreal moment where you went through it, you birthed her, and now she's going to birth a baby.
It is pretty overwhelming. I mean, a new life is coming.
Yeah.
And you can't explain or replicate that feeling.
And it's your baby who's providing this new life.
In fact, a couple years ago, she said to me, I don't know if she'd had her second yet. She said, hey, Mom, do you know what? I said, what? She goes, I'm a mom. I go, Steph, you know what? I'm a mother and a grandmother. We were talking about how it really hadn't registered, how our lives had changed. But of course it had.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just the new phase of life.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Was her birth and her pregnancy pretty easy, or?
Her first one was nothing she had planned. She planned a home birth. Baby was positioned poorly, tried inducing, ended up being an induction at the hospital, ended up being a C-section. So it was nothing that she had planned.
And what's going through your mind now?
Crying.
Oh, yeah.
Crying.
Yeah. Because you want... We like tears on the podcast. It's real.
It was real, I'm telling you. I had my colleague come and coach with her because I was her coach. And I felt like I needed to step back.
Yeah.
So my friend came and helped for a few hours. And then it was apparent that she needed a C-section because there was an infection setting in from her membrane instead of having been ruptured for almost 48 hours. So, but with the second one, she did her homework and worked on her pelvis, and it was a totally different experience.
Did she have a home birth?
She was a VBAC.
Wow.
And she was very happy about it. She felt very accomplished. And then her third one was unmedicated, barely made it to the hospital. So she felt really finished and complete in her birth process. And I told her she experienced it all.
Yeah, she did.
She was very proud of herself.
Well, I just want to not go too far back because I don't want to make you cry again.
Easy.
But I do, what you just shared, I think is exactly what I feel like would happen as from a mom's perspective is like, it's your baby.
Yeah.
And so there's like this mom kind of like mama bear coming out.
Absolutely.
And then you also are like, wow, that's my grandchild. Like when I say it, I honestly get goosebumps because I can't even imagine that feeling of like, because Grayson's so little, like he's just 2. I can't even imagine him going to school yet. That's not even where we're at.
I always tell moms, imagine the caveman days. Our job was to keep them alive and quiet so they didn't get eaten and taken away. And I think that's a really maternal instinct that moms have. And I'm a really big fan of maternal instincts and listening to them because I think in today's society we dismiss them, poo-poo them, and tell them, no, you're not right. There's nothing wrong. And I see it all the time with clients. They are, oh, there's nothing wrong. Well, there was things that needed to be addressed, and the babies and moms were happier instead of getting into real depression because they felt like they're being the crazy one.
Yeah.
And so but as a grandma, even with my own daughter, I had to watch how I walked on, conversations with her because I didn't want her feeling that she wasn't capable because I'm the doula that knows everything and the sleep consultant knows everything, but I'm also the mom that knows my daughter's struggling. So yeah, it's a tightrope.
It is.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's only suited for a mom because we can handle those things.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I feel like I mentioned seeing people struggle. I really do. I see like certain dynamics happen and I can see why, right? Like even just like in public when you see a mom and a daughter and her obviously grandchild, just like the little comments or the things it's all around this like really fine line of like where grandma can go and what a grandma should do.
Yep.
And it's hard because what you want to do is protect your baby.
Yep.
That's your baby.
Yep.
And then you want to like spoil the crap out of this little darling that you have now.
Yeah. I mean, I have to keep in mind that I'm not the mom and that I need to ask permission for some things that I would like to take my granddaughter to go do. Sometimes I forget it. And sometimes my daughter will say, Mom, if you make that decision, it's forever, because she's going to expect it. Or she will tell me, because she doesn't have any problems having that conversation with me, I'm the mom and I need to make those decisions. It can't come from you.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, I just forget because we're just like a big happy family in the scheme of life.
Yeah.
But I still have to find those boundaries even with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself feeling like sad during those times? Like, oh man, I just, I want to do
Absolutely.
this and I can't do
When my
that.
grandkids are having meltdowns and I have to just walk away because, my daughter hasn't asked me for help and she is the one that should handle it. And it makes me cry and sad because I feel that that's something nobody wants to see their kids go through.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, tantrums are so hard. Grayson's like right at it right now. And so when he has one, I feel like my heart starts racing and my blood is boiling because it's like,
we want to fix things as moms.
yeah. And I really want to be like, whatever you want, like honest to God, whatever you want, I will give you. Could you please just tell me what that is? I will do it, whatever it is.
Especially
It's
if they're
hard.
not, if they're pre-verbal, it's a little bit hard because they're trying to communicate. They can't say, I want this.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure those things out and they're frustrated. So it can be tough.
Yeah, that is hard.
Yeah,
All right. So now you have 3 grandkids?
I do.
Okay. Was it like your first one? Obviously, you're in awe. It's your granddaughter.
Yeah.
Granddaughter, right?
It is.
Are they all daughters?
Last 2 are boys.
Last 2 are boys. Okay. 1 boy or 1 girl, 2 boys.
Yep.
Okay. Now, when the boy came,
Yep.
was that feeling different, or was it the same thing over again? Like, oh my gosh, I'm a grandma again.
I was born to be a mother, so it didn't matter what gender to me. But of course, everybody, even my own husband, was a sucker about a little baby girl. I mean, he held her all the time when he had the opportunity. It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. It's different with each child.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gender necessarily, but yeah.
Yeah. It was just different each
I
time.
think with each child or each grandchild, you just was like, okay, I'm in survival mode. We just need to just like keep things floating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I imagine, I know you talked about that fine line, right? Like not crossing that with your daughter, but I would imagine having a mom who has a lot of these skills
Yep.
that usually are the most helpful in those early phases
Yeah.
of babyhood, motherhood, all that.
Yeah.
Were you there a lot? Like, were you doula, night consultant, helping all that, or no?
I helped, like with each child, I stayed the first 4 or 5 days, 24 hours, just to help transition. And then by day 4 or 5, I said goodbye. And my son-in-law would say, do you have to? So, but honestly, meal prep and laundry and holding babies so parents can take naps, because I wouldn't necessarily help a lot at night. She was breastfeeding and that was what she was doing well.
Yeah.
But with the second one, I was definitely more, again, running the ship and helping with the oldest one because she knew me.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
See, that's even harder for
Yeah.
parents.
I
I
know.
always forget that dynamic because I only have one and will only have one. So I can't fathom it, obviously,
Yeah.
but that must add a total level of complexity
Be-
onto the mom.
Because you just told another child that I love you so much. I just brought another one of you home. And they don't necessarily blame the new baby, but they're like, my family dynamics has changed.
Sure.
And they'll act out for a while. Or they'll potty train regress or whatever it is.
Yeah.
A lot of deep breathing.
Did your granddaughter do any of those?
She did acting out. She hadn't been potty trained when the second one came, so that wasn't really an issue. But it definitely was, grandma daddy time. Even grandpa would step in and take her to do little things during the day. They had a little routine of going to the park. So it's things like normalizing their life as much as possible, keeps their world consistent so they're not so upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a hard dynamic to
It
balance.
is. It is.
Did your daughter struggle with that at all, or was she just like rock star mom? Sounds like she
Well,
is.
I wouldn't say nobody's rock star. Everybody has their pitfalls.
Sure.
We all either expense ourselves or, something suffers.
Sure.
So she definitely has never been afraid to ask for help.
That's so
And
good.
she, compared to me, I think she's a rock star because she definitely handles 3 kids pretty well.
Yeah.
And so, because I work nights, sleep the morning, can help in the afternoon. And so it's definitely a juggling act at times. In fact, she
Yeah.
messaged me this morning and said, I was thinking about all these things and I cleaned the house at 3 a.m.
Oh, really?
That's what she did this morning.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I do feel like although I loved all my mom, I have lots of moms.
Yeah.
My parents are divorced, so I get benefits of stepmoms and in-laws.
Yeah.
Although they were all very helpful, I feel like if any of them were doulas or sleep consultants, it probably would have made that transition like 10 times easier, because that's the hardest part, is like not sleeping.
Yeah.
And just not really knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Like that transition into being like,
For sure.
all right, now what do I do with this little thing that I just brought home that won't breastfeed and won't do all these things, right?
For sure.
Ugh, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Even my experience with my daughter, because my 3 grandkids were tongue-tied, and I'm seeing it 30 to 40% of the time.
Really?
And that's probably most of the calls I have from babies that are 12 weeks and under. They think they're sleep issues, but they're usually gut feeding issues. And so it's not what you know, it's who you know. I got pretty much, she left the hospital and got in to get the revision right away. But even at the hospital level, I felt like they just really didn't catch it. And so that's what makes me sad. And I always open my door too. If you have a friend that's struggling, I'm happy to talk to them.
Yeah.
Just see if we can figure out what the bigger issues are to get this resolved, so you have, happy memories of being a new parent, because it can be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you have a screaming baby that cries from 5 to 11 every night, it grates on you.
Yeah.
And that's what my first one was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Your daughter.
My oldest one. And you know what they did in the day before I knew anything? They gave her Levsin phenobarbital. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's a narcotic.
No way.
I did not know that until years later. I realized what the doctor had prescribed.
Wow.
Right?
To help her sleep?
To stop the screaming, because the gut pain.
Did it work?
Oh, yeah. I drugged her. I know. So it's horrible.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't want to laugh at that, because that is horrible. But parts of me is like, do they not prescribe that now? Because I feel like that would have made things so much easier, though.
No.
That crying is so hard.
It's so intense. It's like, what am I doing wrong? I couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
Please help me.
So because your daughter was able to fix that tongue tie issue quickly, she didn't experience a lot of that then?
No, I'm pretty proactive on that stuff, because I've seen the before and afters too many times, and parents will say, oh my God, I had no idea. Why did we wait so long?
Yeah.
Or they were really hesitant to do it. And then they're like, it changed our lives and preserved breastfeeding and our mental health.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So her transition then like pretty easy, because she didn't deal with the tongue tie. She could breastfeed, or is that 5 to 11 different? Like you were mentioning 5 to 11 screaming.
Oh,
Like that's because of the tongue tie issue, maybe? I know we'll get into this in your expert interview, but
yeah. When there's several reasons for gut crying babies. They're more sensitive to everything. And so it could also be food sensitivities or formula choices. So it's just, you kind of got to go through the things to figure it out.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. It's crazy to me to think about like something so simple like that can change
I know
that whole world.
Yep.
Because I just wonder sometimes, I wonder if something could have gone different with Grayson to make that experience different.
And that's how you and I met. You had reached out with some sleep stuff, right? Yeah. We never really did talk about how you figured it out, the rest of it, but
I didn't. He's still not sleeping.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding.
We'll be talking. But, I remember with my first one, my mom never breastfed because we were from the East Coast and formula was the thing in the 60s.
Yeah.
My mom would say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I wish I could. I don't know what to tell you. So that's why I'm so proactive with supporting new moms.
Oh, like when you breastfed, she was like, sorry, I don't know. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So
did you breastfeed for a long time?
I was not successful with my first one because of the lack of help and the understanding and things. I was very determined with the rest of them and did fine because we figured things out early on. So yeah, it's interesting. Again, that's where that support goes.
Yeah.
Very important the first few weeks with a new family.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good to know, like, I know we've talked about the tightrope thing and how to walk that as a grandma, but even not being a doula, even not being a a sleep consultant, you can still do what you did to help your daughter, right? Which is like,
hold the baby, take a break,
yeah,
see if I can help you figure it out. All we can do is try different things.
yeah,
Sometimes that's what parenting is let's see what works.
just try.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think your advice at the beginning of like, make sure you just ask
Yes.
versus tell.
Yes.
That's probably really
It's that
important in those.
unwarranted
Yeah.
information. And I still struggle and learn that every day.
Yeah.
And my daughter does not hesitate to put me in my place.
That's so nice.
We have a very good relationship as far as that. In fact, she told me one time, I can tell you off, but I can't tell other people off. And so we get it figured out and we're done and we move on. I said, yes, that's true.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Do you have that relationship with all of your kids?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
They're all able
I
to
always
just
told them when they were little,
Yeah.
especially through the school years, if you get in trouble, you better come tell me. Because if you lie or you don't tell me about it, you're going to be in more trouble. So when they were honest with me, they really didn't get in trouble. It was a conversation and they learned from it and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think that's actually what we should learn from this episode is that, because that has then led you into this phase, which is
Absolutely.
I think as a new mom, you have to be vulnerable and be like, wow, I don't know what's going on. But then there's probably also this like, but I want to figure it out. I don't want you just to tell me.
Yeah.
Because if you tell me, then now I'm a bad mom, or now I'm incapable
And that's
of
fair.
doing
That's
this.
fair. And some moms will say, I don't want to have to do things the hard way. If you see something, please share with me some ideas so we can try it.
Yeah.
I think it depends where the mom's at.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's all, for me, I guess I should say, I don't want to speak for all moms. It's all that like postpartum. Because I feel like if you have that, if you do have postpartum depression, I feel like in my experience, I'm not an expert, you're going to be less likely to say what you just said, which is, just tell me what it is and we'll fix it. Instead, I think you have all this guilt or this shame or however you're carrying that. So you can't say that. You can't be like, okay, just tell me what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you do that, then you're a bad mom or you don't know what you're doing or you're incapable.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Have another baby, it'll be different again yet.
I'm not doing that. You see, people say that, and I feel like the universe told me just one.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. I don't know if I would go back to that.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I would like adopt or something older, like adopt like a 10-year-old.
Your first child gives you so much wisdom, you have no idea.
I
Look where you are today compared to
yeah,
that first day.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the things I've learned from being a mom is like insane.
Yeah.
Like just the mental shift of like, wow, that doesn't matter. Or like,
so true.
oh, okay. Like I don't want to stress out about that, because if I stress out about that, that's less time with Grayson 10 years from now when that stress has taken a toll on my body.
Did you get a manual when you left the hospital?
Well, yeah, they gave me a pamphlet that said, if you want to hurt yourself or your husband or your baby, you should probably call this number. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks. Can I go now? Like, what is this?
I know. I mentioned to you that when we came home with our first one 35 years ago, we put her in the middle of the living room and I said, okay, so now what? Does she tell me she's hungry? Do I have to wake her up? I had no idea.
Yeah. And it's funny because you say that like, oh, 35 years ago. And in my mind, I'm like, sure, yeah, because we didn't know a lot of things back then, right? But now I'm like, it's still the same thing.
I would
like,
agree.
It's still the baby in the middle of the room being like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember the day that Grayson came home. I remember taking him home. I remember putting him in the car and like driving home. I remember because we went through Starbucks and I remember I was so excited to have a Starbucks, and I even took him out of his car seat in the drive-through because I just like he was crying and I just had to hold him. And then my husband was like, we got to make it home. Can you just put him back in? And I was like, didn't want to let him go. I remember all that, but then I don't really remember that first couple weeks. Like I really can't. It's foggy to me. Like what we did with him, like how we decided to sleep, how we decided, like all these things. But I do remember having a really high level of anxiety. Like nighttime when it started to get dark outside, I remember feeling like, oh crap, we're supposed to sleep now. And I don't really know how to do that. Like, I don't really know what that's like.
Yeah.
So even today, 35 years later, we're still not educated And I don't know how to, like, I don't know what fixes that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's sleep consultants or if it's.
I've said to parents, because I work with multiples also, and I've said to them, so could anybody have prepared you and explained to you ahead of time what you needed to know? And they've always all said, no way. This has been a on-the-job training.
Yeah. But I wonder if there is something and that they just didn't know, because how would they know?
Yeah. I think,
do you know what I mean?
Right. Just basic skills. I think if you had a conversation about the 5 S's and, a feeding, sleeping schedule, just really basic survival information
Yes.
is about all anybody can absorb the first few weeks.
Well, and because what happens is instead is that, like, I came home and when things started to become uncomfortable, like, I for sure should have gotten help, but I was like, he's not sleeping, he's not eating. What I would do then is I would go to Pinterest, or I would go to a friend, or I would hear this piece of advice and this piece of advice. And now, as a mom of a 2-year-old, I know I am not equipped to give a new mom advice. Like, people are like, oh, when did you put Grace on a sleeping schedule? I'm like, don't ask me. Like, I think he was 9 months when we actually decided to try something. And I don't know, though. Like, when we do a feeding, because, like, all these things that people were telling me, like, oh, he should eat every couple hours. You should do this. Get him on a feeding schedule, because if you don't, you're going to be sorry. I think I heard all that, like, week 1. And that's not when to do it, Yeah. And so I put all this pressure on myself. So now when moms ask me, I'm always like, I don't ask me. Like, I don't know, because I have a 2-year-old now, like, my whole mind has shifted and I don't know what it's like to have a brand new baby anymore.
Yeah. And I think the neighborhood cul-de-sac, where the neighbors all kind of came over and one at a time would come sit with you, or let me show you this, or let's try that. I think, again, goes back to that simple support system that's available for short periods of time to at least give you breaks.
Yeah.
Is what we need. Whether it's
well,
a
and
doula.
to give you breaks, not to have you host.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes, like, for me, when people would come over, I felt really like, oh, I got to clean, I've got to prepare food, I got to go to the store. And it was like, okay, that's not why people are coming over.
No.
And it was hard for me to figure out that balance of, like, okay, how do I manage this?
That's
like,
a really good
what do I
point
do?
about not feeling like you have to entertain or clean your house because somebody's coming to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be, like, to help you, not not for you to be pretty and put together in front of.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
Don't
look
do
like
your
that.
dishes and don't apologize for the dirty house.
Nope. Put dirty diapers everywhere and they'll clean them up. That's what it should look like.
That's the job of the friend.
Yes. All right. So I feel like we kind of went away from grandma for a second, but I love all your advice. I'm excited to dive deep into sleep consulting. I do have a couple more questions for you about grandma life.
Yes.
What has been, like, the hardest thing about being a grandma?
Not giving an opinion when not asked.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And realizing that at the end of the day, it's officially their job to raise their children and make their mistakes that you got to make as a new mom.
Yeah.
I think those are the things that you just have to learn to let go.
Can you give an example? Like, do you find that you just, like, something's happening and you pipe in and that's what happens? Or is it like, what is it where this happens?
It has been that. It has been mom and granddaughter negotiating something, and I pipe in with a comment, and I realized that it just took power away from my daughter as a mom.
Yeah.
And so zip it and walk away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the walking away is good advice.
Yeah.
That would be good for me, because I have a hard time. I see it happening. Like, I dislike when I'm doing something with Grayson and somebody's like, it's okay though. When I tell them, like, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, it's okay. It's not bothering me.
What that comment just did was dismiss what you felt was important in front of your son's eyes.
Yes. And see, what happens is when that happens, I feel really sensitive to that. And I'm like, oh, I like, don't do that, but I don't know how to correct you and him at the same time. So I feel really uncomfortable. But I think as humans, we do that sometimes, because, like, last night, my sister's dog was here and we were outside and the dog was jumping on my husband, and my sister was like, don't jump. And he's like, oh, it's okay. It's not bothering me. And I'm like, no, but see, she's teaching him not to jump. And I think we try to be as humans, like accommodating, like, oh no, it's okay. It's not, I'm good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But what we're doing, like you said, is taking away that power from that mom.
Yeah.
And so I try really hard when a mom is telling their kid something to just be really quiet, even if it truly isn't bothering me and I don't care or I'm enjoying what's happening. I really try to go silent. And it sometimes makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, I should be talking. Like my mouth is like, say something, say something. And I just have to be like, because it's hard. It's so hard. It's like in our nature to be like, it's okay.
Yep.
Don't do that. You don't have to correct him, but really they're correcting him. So let him do that.
Yep.
And they'll learn.
Those are life learning skills.
Yeah. Gosh, it's hard though.
It is really hard.
That's probably one thing I've learned from being a parent is to pay attention to those types of conversations that happen with children, with dogs, with anything, with food, all of it.
Yeah.
Like we just do that as humans.
As a grandparent, I think the biggest purpose of our job is to be the lover, the nurturer, the teacher. And when you have them one-on-one, just really have a positive world so they know where they're safe to go. And that grandparents can be such a great, amazing, let's go to grandma's house.
Yeah.
Go through the gate to the backside of the property where grandma lives.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. You guys all live on the same.
Live really close together.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yep.
That's really great. What has changed the most between you and your daughter now that she's a mom?
She's grown up. Imagine that. She has her own opinions and thoughts and ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Yes, we are foundations for our kids to learn things, but their life skills teach them additional things.
Yeah.
Even though they may not be something I agree with. Again, I struggle with sometimes keeping my mouth shut too.
Yeah.
And not passing my opinion.
Well, because now it's to your daughter, right? It's not to your granddaughter.
Yep.
And your whole life, you've given her all this information, all these paths, or do this, don't do that.
And really that parenthood has led them to be the parents that they are in so many ways. Whether it's different, they've chosen to go a different direction. At the end of the day, they're not our children anymore. We're just grandparents. And that, albeit a big role, we're not the primary parents. Yeah. We're there to be fun.
Yeah.
And read the books and go to the park and paint the nails and
It sounds great, but it also makes me like a little sad because I feel like my role is so big in Grayson's life.
Yeah.
And I also know that someday it won't be that big.
It is tough.
And I see that happen, like obviously with my parents, right? They're not in my life every day.
Totally
They're
true.
not here helping me make decisions or any of that. But that just felt natural to me because I was their daughter and I just grew up.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm on this side where I'm like, oh my gosh, someday Grayson isn't going to.
But that speaks to the job that you've done well, which is he is independent and he feels comfortable in his own self to go be venturesome.
That's true. There's like this second of pride that you get when you see them
and cry in the closet. Do not let them see it.
That is good. Yes.
Totally true.
Yeah. No, well, my mom lets me see her cry, but I think that's because we're just very emotional beings about certain things.
Yep.
But yes, I would agree. Crying in the closet is probably better than anything else. Okay, awesome. So my last question that I'll ask you, since I forgot my other one. See, we cut some things out, but I like it when there's not certain things cut out because then it's real. My last question I was going to ask, as a grandma, what's one piece of advice? I know we've talked about a lot of advice so far, but like the one thing you would want a grandma to know, maybe a grandma who's a grandma to be, or one that's currently in a relationship with their grandchild. Like what's one piece of advice you want them to take away?
Be the grandparent, not the parent. Number one, ask what you can do. Don't assume it.
Okay.
I really think that's really important to be a support system, not the decision maker.
Yeah. And is that like something you have to, like when you go to make a phone call, you have to be like, okay, I'm not the parent, I'm not the parent, I'm not the parent. Like in every minute, I feel like that would be like a constant reminder.
I think it depends on relationship dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, Stephanie and I have had 5 years to work on this, so we definitely have come to understand how it works with the two of us. I think, again, that's different with each relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good to think, though, that you are not the parent, you're the grandparent.
Yeah.
Because
enjoy it's so much easier and beautiful a job compared to being a parent.
Yeah.
You get all the fun times.
Yeah. I know. As much as I'm like, oh, I don't want Grayson to get older, there's parts of me that's like, man, but you know what? Like him sleeping in or watching a movie or me being able to leave the house and he could be here alone.
Yeah.
Those all sound like really awesome seasons for me. Like if the world could just get there a little sooner.
It will be fast.
I know. And then I'm sure someday I'll be like, why are you so big?
I know.
Why are you a stinky teenager?
I already say that.
Yeah. But I'm also looking forward to it. At least I know that there's something exciting about being in those seasons and being a grandma.
Yeah.
If Grayson so chooses to have babies. That's the other thing too, is like not pushing them to have kids. I feel like now that we've had one kid, my parent, well, I'll speak for my parents, not Dustin's parents, but my parents are pretty young, but they're also still raising kids. Like they still have my siblings in their home.
Got it.
And so I always joke that they don't want any more grandkids because they have kids of their own that they're still raising. But, you know, they make comments like, oh, have a baby, have another one. He's so great, have another one. And I obviously don't feel pressure because I know I'm not going to have another one, so I don't really care. Yeah. But I do think in my experience, I've heard people pressure their kids a lot of like, okay, when's the grandkid coming? Okay, when's this coming? When are we going to have grandkids? And I get it, right? It's like an exciting time.
Say it to your friends. Don't say it to your children.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
I know. But it is such an exciting time. So I get why they want it.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think that there's other places to.
Yes.
Were you ready? Like, were you like, I want to be a grandmother so bad. Please have a baby right now.
I never said that to them.
Okay.
Because I would never want it to be said to me. And I knew if the day came, I'd be excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the fear is if you say that and then they have struggles getting pregnant.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be some trauma they have to live through with that.
Enough pressure and guilt on themselves.
Yeah. Hopefully they can sense that you're just excited though.
Oh, absolutely.
And not trying to put pressure.
No. And I think most grandparents, when that day comes, they get very excited.
Yeah.
Whether they ask push or pressure or not.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's true. All right. Well, thank you so much for your grandma experience.
Thank you for having me and thank you for reaching out.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for the expert side, all things sleeping. Thank you for listening. I hope you loved it. Please subscribe to this podcast so you can get the latest episodes and tell us what you think about it in the reviews. And mamas, I love you.